Hi, everybody. Hopefully you can all see and hear me. We're live for today's webinar. I just have to explain, we're a couple of minutes late, completely my fault. I sent out the wrong link to our panelists who frantically tried to find the correct link to come and join us backstage. Pleased to say that we've got 4 out of 5 waiting in the wings. We've got one more to join us, and Kate in our team is trying to contact them to join us. So one of those things, we are live, as I said. This is what we like to do. The alternative is to pre-record everything, press play on a button, and then there's no interaction between any of you guys viewing and with our panelists as well. So Gary Thatcher, CEO and co-founder of the Retail Summit. Today we've got a really interesting setup, really. There's a mix of presentations, there's a mix of panel discussions, there are some videos and some PowerPoints. So with everything that's live, please, we welcome your patience with us as we've already had from you this morning with the couple of minutes of delay. Dogs may bark in the background if the postman comes and knocks on the door. If there's any technical issues, just bear with us and we will try to return as soon as possible. So today's discussion is an interesting one. Obviously, with the Retail Summit, what we're famous for is our flagship event in the Middle East, in Dubai. We launched in 2019, 1,000 attendees, 100 speakers from 40, 50 different countries, and it was a real kind of statement piece, not only in the Middle East for the retail sector, but also globally, kind of put ourselves on the map. And we really wanted to do something different. We were passionate about supporting new brands, SMEs, disruptors from all parts of the world, really, and putting them on that platform in amongst the Richard Bransons and the Joe Malones and Christina Blahniks. And that's how we came to partner with Department of International Trade. We, from a long-standing relationship with DIT, former UKTI as it was then, they felt exactly the same way. They have many British brands, UK brands, and we hear from some today, obviously, that they wanted to help, promote trade and help them export to the UAE in particular. And with a partnership between us, we achieved that with our launch event in 2019. There was a nice delegation of British brands that came out. We created this lovely kind of mini department store within the exhibition area. And it was a great way to not only for them to network with partners in the Middle East, but also showcase their product, touch it, smell it, and feel it. And part of what this webinar is today is use it as a bit of an information piece for any British brands out there that are potentially looking at exporting to UAE. Part of this discussion is to let you know how, why, when, who, etc., and how us, Retail Summit and the DIT, can help you do that. So without further ado, I'm going to pass on to Jose from Department of International Trade. He has a short introduction and then an interview with a fantastic brand, Christina at Eco Rascals, and then we shall move on to the live panel discussion. So bear with me, there's a few buttons that I need to click. I'm going to welcome Jose up onto the stage first of all, so that it's not a blank screen. And he should be joining in a few seconds. There you go. So here he is. Jose, you're live with me now. I'm going to duck off of the screen and leave it to you, and we'll catch up shortly.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Gary, for co-hosting this webinar. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jose Richard. I'm an export development advisor working for the Department for International Trade in the east of England. The Department for International Trade is a UK government organization helping British brands to succeed in export markets. We also attract investment to the UK and champion free trade. DIT has a global network of UK-based advisors, commercial officers based in British embassies, consulates, and high commissions in 108 markets, and also overseas business networks such as British Chambers of Commerce or consultancy firms. DIT offers a wide range of services for British businesses, like professional and impartial international advice, sector-specific expertise, in-depth knowledge of your target markets, developing and implementing successful international strategies, and Also, last but not least, sorry, we have launched an online platform called UK Finest, which is a free business matchmaking platform that brings together pre-qualified international buyers and UK sellers from the food and drink and retail and consumer sectors products. One of the benefits to join the platform is for UK sellers is that you will gain a global audience and connect with international buyers. And for the international buyers, you will have access to pre-qualified UK sellers. In terms of how the platform is performing, we have made 1,000 connections during all this time, and we have already heard from some of our UK companies that they achieved some export orders. Also, if you join the platform, you will gain exclusivity access to webinars, events, and meet the buyers. Like, for example, we are organizing one in November for sustainable business in the following categories: fashion, beauty, homeware, baby and child, and health and well-being. So if you are a UK seller interested in joining this opportunity or international buyers, I will send you the link later. So I'm just going to play the video of the platform to show you how it works.
UK's Finest is a brand new online marketplace for international buyers to connect with export-ready retail and consumer suppliers from the UK. As the demand for British retail and consumer products continues to grow globally, we've created a free, easy-to-use platform to help both buyers and sellers build high-quality, trusted international partnerships. The idea is simple. First, buyers and sellers go through a pre-qualification process. This helps ensure that all members of the marketplace are of the highest quality and are ready, willing and able to do business. Once granted access to UK's Finest, you can then create an online profile and pitch your business to top quality, trusted international brands. If you're looking for a specific product to buy or for a buyer in a particular market, you can search the marketplace using intuitive filters to find exactly what you're after. When you found a brand you're interested in, you can request a connection with the user. The platform will then keep you up to date with that brand and send any opportunities straight to your email inbox. Most importantly, you'll be able to message the key decision makers of businesses you're connected with. This will help you create long-lasting, trusted international relationships. So, what are you waiting for? Start saving time and money by growing your business with UK's Finest from the comfort of your own device. Join UK's Finest and expand your global reach today.
So if you are a UK brand interested in joining the platform, please contact your international trade advisor to discuss your eligibility. And if you are an international buyer keen to access the platform with more than 400 brands, I will send you my contact details later to discuss it. All right, so in another note, I had the pleasure to meet last week Christina Williams, who is the CEO and founder of Eco-Rascals, a British design eco-friendly tableware products for children. I think fortunately we have Christina today, so if you have any questions, she'll be happy to answer.
Good morning, Christina, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us today and share your experience in the Middle East region. Can you tell us briefly an overview of your company and what made you set it up?
Thanks, Jose. Yes, so I'm the founder of Eco-Rascals, as you explained earlier, an eco-friendly tableware company. We actually set up in the Middle East because we saw there was a gap in the market there. wasn't any availability for mums to be able to buy sustainable tableware products for their children in the Middle East, unless they went and got them from the States or the UK, which obviously goes against the sustainability aspect in that it's probably being flown from Asia to the UK or the US and then back into the Middle East. So we was looking at filling that gap for parents and carers in the Middle East to be able to have stylish, sustainable tableware for their children, but also readily available and affordable. So yeah, so there was a gap which we really tried to and have filled.
All right. Can you tell us what are the main barriers and challenges you faced in the region? Yeah,
of course. So with the Middle East, there is duties and VAT. So at a minimum, you will have a 5% duty to import your goods into the UAE and a 5% VAT charge. I think with the UAE, it's not particular. I say the UAE, Middle East. It's not a particular problem if things aren't in Arabic on the packaging in the UAE, for example, because it is such a big expat population and the majority of people do speak English. But if you want to enter Saudi, which is obviously the biggest market in the Middle East, then you will have to put Arabic on your packaging and make sure that it is the correct Arabic, because we've had lots of translations done in the past and then we've sent it to people in Saudi and they've said, no, this actually doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I think that's good. That's a good tip, I think. And one of the other big challenges that we've found is that if you want to come into the Middle East from the UK, it's not as simple as one might expect. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to start shipping into the UAE. If you want to sell your goods in the UAE and other Middle East countries, though I'm not 100% on the other countries, but you have to have some sort of presence there. So either via an agent or a distributor, or indeed have to open a company yourself there. So that, I think, is things that are challenging for new entrants into the market, that everything, you must understand all of the different options available and what best suits your company at that time.
That's very interesting, Christina. Can I ask you, which are your route to market, Christina? Where are you selling in the region?
Yeah, of course. So we sell in a lot of different stores and online platforms. So we're obviously a baby and children's brand. So we sell in the big platforms. So, for example, Mum's World, it's a huge platform for baby and children's goods in the UAE and in Saudi Arabia. We sell on the likes of Noon, which is it's kind of like Amazon, a bit smaller, but it's a UAE backed company, so there's a lot of investment in the UAE, so it's a good one to get onto, because they're very receptive to helping push your brand and without having to spend lots of money like you would do on Amazon with PPC, for example. We're in stores, so independent stores, such as stores like Eggs and Soldiers. There's lots of little independent stores all over the UAE and GCC, and we're also in chain stores. So, for example, Baby Shop, which are all over the UAE, and KSA and Asia. We are in most GCC countries in one form or another. There are a lot of smaller sellers in the other countries that operate off of the back of Instagram accounts, because social media is huge in the GCC. So a lot of people don't want to invest in setting up companies, etc., and they sell off the back of having huge followings. So that's obviously a company choice, whether you're happy to sell to these types of sellers, or you want to just stick to the the platforms and the bricks and mortar.
Thanks, Tina. That's very useful information. Can you tell me how British brands are perceived in the region and why they should buy British?
I think British brands are very well perceived in the region. I think they're synonymous with good quality. That they've been stringently tested, that they're reliable, they're safe, and the GCC, but the UAE in particular, 90% of the population is expatriates. So I would say a big proportion of that would be Westerners and people with high disposable incomes, and they're willing to pay premiums for quality for British brands, and because of that. So it's definitely a great place for British brands to be at the moment.
Okay.
Good question. I think it would be, number one, know your route to market. So how you're going to enter this market. Are you going for an agent? Are you wanting to do it yourself, or are you looking for a distributor? And then explore those options and understand the financial implications of those options. I think secondly, it would be logistics. It's very, very important to have a good logistics partner that has coverage across the GCC, that knows your product, that is available. And I myself know of not being with Brexit and having a warehouse in the Netherlands. It's hard when you can't get to a warehouse. So you want to be able to trust in your warehouse that they know your product and they're very responsive. So I think logistics is very important. And then I think probably product. It's small, the UAE and the GCC, but if something's popular, it sells out very quickly. It only has to be mentioned on one of the British mums groups, for example, that's got sort of tens of thousands of followers, and then it's, before you know it, it's out of stock. So I think definitely have the product. And a fourth is, but just invest in really invest in Google Ads and Facebook, because you get so much more traction for your money compared to the UK. It really is worthwhile. And I think that's probably it.
That's great, Christina. I'm afraid that's all of the time we have today. Thank you for sharing your experience in
being asked today. I think we have some questions for you, Christina.
Hi, Jose.
Hello, Christina. Thank you for being today with us again.
No worries whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah. So, what support services are on the ground in the UAE that can help with advising new businesses entrance to the market?
So when we were setting up in the UAE, I think, and post setting up, we've really found helpful a couple of services. The first, obviously, being DIT. I think they have the retail sector based in, there's offices in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, but in Dubai, I think the retail sector head is based at the British Embassy for DIT. So they've been very helpful in certain introductions, for example, to Noon for us, and just knowing about events, for example, the Retail Summit and things like this. And also for setting up with regards to, depending on which route you want to go down, but if you wanted to set up a company and things like that, or just meet people on the ground, I've found the British Business Group in Abu Dhabi a really good resource as well. And they have all they have people joined from all over, but majority is British and British businesses. And you can find, you know, if you wanted a local accountant or things like that, or help in setting up certain things or advice, then I've always found they're very helpful, and they have events, networking events and things like that, which are interesting to go to on the ground. So I definitely say DIT and the BBG Abu Dhabi.
Thank you, Christina. I've got a question. I think you mentioned something in your chat, but have you tried selling your products online at all, Christina?
Yes, we sell our products online. So we have our own website, which we invest in Google ads and invest in Facebook ads to sell via that. And we obviously do a lot of marketing as well, with regards to newsletters and, you know, recipes, and ensuring we've got content that is relevant. So for the Middle East, for example, Ramadan, we make sure we do stuff with regards to Ramadan and things like that. We take into account the Middle East calendar as well as the Gregorian. And then we're on lots of different platforms which deliver across the Middle East to all of the GCC countries. So yes, I think it's very big in the UAE to be ordering online now. The logistics side of things is getting stronger and stronger. You know, you can order and you'll get it delivered the next day, like you would Amazon Prime in the UK a lot of the time. So yes, and there is some real strong platforms that I would suggest brands look into, including Noon and Mum's World if you're in the baby sector.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Just another question. Do you have a particular strategy for the different GCC markets? I guess Saudi is very different, like Qatar, or I don't know if you can explain about how you deal with different Middle East regions.
Yeah, so for us, we went very much for the UAE because it was the most accessible market for us. So that was always going to be the first market we went for, because it is, you know, there's lots of, it's just easy to contact people. Everyone does speak English. And we know that there's a big expat community with a high disposable income. So that was always going to be our first market because it was the easiest to penetrate. And you have the DIT and BBG on the ground there to help. With regards to after that, Saudi was always going to be our second market, but we knew that we wouldn't be able to service that ourselves because there's lots of barriers to entry, language being the biggest, the distribution network, getting in and out of the country. It's not as accessible. I don't know any brand that's there as themselves. Everyone goes through distributors, and so we have got a distributor. We do have a distributor for Saudi Arabia who's growing our brand in Saudi Arabia. We launched there last around Easter time. And we're in, you know, it's been great for us. We're in some of the big pharmacies there for baby and feeding. It's very huge in pharmacies. We've just launched in Virgin mega stores over there, which are huge. And then for the other countries, we've just gone through retailers. Most of the online platforms will deliver throughout the GCC, and our website does deliver throughout the GCC. But for the other markets, we haven't invested hugely into those markets because the lion's share is Saudi and UAE, and we just deal with retail stores or online stores in those in the other jurisdictions.
Okay, thank you, Christina. And I have another question. What is your split between online and retail store sales?
I would say it's probably about 40-60. So 40% being bricks and mortar and 60% being online. But when I say online, I mean as in our website and all of the other platforms that we operate on. So not just our website and bricks and mortar, but all of the all of the websites that we operate on. And there's a lot of different models in the UAE with regards to online as well, and in other. And so you've got to make sure that obviously you're doing what's right for you, because in some of the bigger stores, they will require consignment, and it's whether, you know, if you're in a different country, are you comfortable having your stock that's not been purchased in another store that you can't see? A lot of the online stores do back-to-back rather than buying up front. There is stores online and physical that buy up front, but you'll get a lot of different mix. So it's just about where your comfort levels sit and how far you can push it, and how much that your product is actually wanted by the retailer purchasing it. So just watch out for that one.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Christine. I think is all the time we have for questions today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye. Back to you, Gary.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. All right, take care. Bye-bye, guys. Well, thank you very much, Jose and Christina, for that really valuable insights there. We had quite a few questions popping up, so I'm sure that you'll be able to reach out to Jose and Christina on LinkedIn and you know, follow up any discussions that you have. So I'm going to invite DeVere Forster and Stephen Short onto stage right now with a few clicks of the button. They should be joining us. There we have DeVere and Stephen. There we go. Smashing, guys. Thank you. Yasser is still trying to log in, and that may be something to do with my link that I sent. So apologies. Hopefully he pops up shortly. So guys, I'd like to kick off just by an introduction, please, from each of you. If anybody doesn't know who Dubai CommerCity is, Hawkins and Brimble, you know, this is an opportunity to, you know, let the audience know who you are. DeVere, over to you, please.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. I'm DeVere Forster. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Dubai CommerCity. Dubai CommerCity is the newest free zone in the region, in the Gulf region. It's the first and dedicated free zone for e-commerce. We're right next door to Dubai International Airport in the heart of Dubai, and we began operations just around 3-4 months ago.
Fantastic. And Stephen?
Yes, hi there. My name's Stephen Short. I'm the CEO of Hawkins and Brimble. We're a British men's grooming and skincare brand. Looks like that, so something you might recognise it from some of the stores in the UK. Something
that I need, Stephen. So yeah, if there's any demos going, please, you know, I'll give you my address afterwards. Thank you very much, guys. DeVere, I want to kick off by kind of getting a lay of the land. So, you know, market conditions in Dubai. Obviously, everybody across the world has been affected by the pandemic, but Dubai has seemed to come out the other side quicker than most. We also had the Expo 2020 launched successfully last week. So not just because of the Expo, but what's the kind of consumer kind of sentiment and feel in the market at the moment in the UAE?
Gary, I think, you know, sentiment is great. And I think, you know, if I report on some of the figures that were released by MAF, Magic Alpha Team, which is one of the largest retailing groups here in the UAE, they released some stats in August. First of all, they're saying the retail recovery that was detected in Q1 of 21 was repeated into Q2. More and more consumers are now exhibiting a cautious optimism about the future. E-commerce is just taking off.
Yeah.
MAF launched their Carrefour home delivery service some time ago, but it has really accelerated because of the pandemic and more people choosing to buy essential products via online rather than going out. And then if you look at some of the statistics they were talking about in retail property transactions for them were over 215% between May 2020 and May 2021. So that actually goes to show that consumer confidence out there is rapidly growing in the right direction. And even if you look at the value of those transactions, you're nearly 4 times, so 400% up year on year. If you look at the retail market, it's well on its way to nearly hitting $60 billion in terms of size. So if you actually translate that into a UK number, it's roughly the same spend per capita. You know, the UK in terms of population is roughly 7 times that of the UAE. And we're now talking, you know, roughly, if you do the figures, we're talking around 7th of the UK numbers. So that's great. 60 billion is showing 13% growth on 2020. So I think the numbers speak for themselves. There's great positive, confidence with consumers. Retail is alive and kicking. And if you look at some of the spending habits of what's happened in the UAE, essentials are just probably very, very similar to the UK. Spending on essentials is well up. And if you translate that in terms of what is actually selling within the essentials, it's actually higher, better quality product. So, they're spending less on non-essentials such as fashion, the likes of clothing and bags, but they're spending more on the essentials and they're spending on a better product. They're also shopping a lot more online. I think some of the statistics that I was talking about at Seamless, which is an expo dedicated to e-commerce last week in the World Trade Center, is that the UAE and Saudi Arabia are leading the way in terms of online spends. We're some 200% up on sales 4 years ago. If you look at sales of 21 versus 20, they're in the region of 40 to 50%. So way outgrowing the overall offline retail spends. That's being driven by a number of factors: convenience, COVID prevention measures, the assortments that consumers now can find online, and retailers such as Alpha Tame introducing click and collect drive-through. So again, if you want to keep away from people because you may be a little bit more uncertain because of COVID, they can stay in their cars, drive up to a drive-through, and the products are thrown into the customer's boot and off they go. So overall, in summary, I see that there's huge optimism, great positive noise coming out of the retail sector here in the UAE.
And just a quick follow-up on that before I go over to Stephen to ask his thoughts as well, DeVere. What have you seen in terms of trajectory with businesses coming to you and wanting to open? Obviously, you're talking about the consumer and the consumer confidence is there, which is great. But obviously, from a business point of view as well, have you seen that confidence kind of increase with more inquiries, more people opening up in Dubai CommerCity?
Yeah, well, because we're a free zone dedicated to e-commerce, I think we've landed at just the right time.
Sure.
Look, you couldn't write this, in terms of being able to launch a free zone dedicated to e-commerce in the pandemic. That there's two different types. One is here locally, where lots of brands, lots of retailers that had e-commerce on their list of things to do, they're now putting it as number one priority. So if they haven't launched, it's now their number one priority. If they have launched and they're working on how to scale it and grow it, it's now become their priority to drive that. Because simply, I'd be very controversial to say there will not be a brand or a retailer in this region sitting in the physical vertical only. By the end of this decade, everybody will have moved online. When it comes to Dubai CommerCity, we can enable, those brands, those retailers to get online. We have a free zone dedicated to e-commerce where we're not just facilitating businesses, we're enabling businesses. So we're trying to create this one-stop shop of an e-commerce ecosystem where as a free zone, we can provide warehousing and e-fulfillment centers and offices for people to set up their business, but also then all the services are related to running an online business. So that's for the local players. For the international players are now approaching us in their droves to try to get their product into the country. And the reason why they're trying to get into the country rather than continually to rely on cross-border shipping is that the competition is fierce in this market. You've got the likes of Nancy, Noon and Amazon that are all now promising same day, next day delivery. And in fact, you've got some e-tailers that are on the back of big fashion retailers here, such as 6th Street and Unas, that are offering order to delivery in 2 hours. So if the likes of Boohoo, ASOS want to compete in this market going forward, they need to get their products into the market, sitting in a free zone where they can then pick, pack and dispatch an order to a customer within Dubai, Abu Dhabi, the rest of the region, same day, so they can compete with the local players here that are established in the UAE.
Absolutely. I think Kate's just messaged that Yasser is on his way. He should be backstage shortly. But Stephen, I'm going to ask a question of you, if I may. Obviously, just moved to Dubai. in the Middle East a couple of months back, but also, having been to Dubai, dozens of times for business as well as, for the brand. So can you tell me from your point of view, within not just the 2 months as a consumer, as somebody now based in the Middle East, but, from a business perspective, what's your kind of general sentiment on, market and conditions out there?
Well, yeah, I've got a relatively unique position in that I've got quite a bit of experience in the health and beauty sector, sort of I'm there 25, maybe 30 years, I hate to think, and done a lot of traveling over the years, and been to Dubai, as you say, many times. I've been to the Golf Beauty Show, or they call it the Beauty World Show, which is on today, probably about 10 times. So it's been really interesting seeing the change. And then I thought I knew quite a lot about Dubai until I moved here, and again, it's just an incredible country. Mainly because they just seem to have upped the ante in terms of customer service, and it really does put the UK to shame in some ways, because as I was mentioning to you on a previous call, you can order a sort of a delivery takeaway and get delivery within 15 minutes, and it's more cuisine than I can even mention. I've now found out I'm actually getting, so you could argue you'll just all be very lazy, but now I'm going to order my petrol from a delivery company called Cafu, who are, I think they've been in the market a year. DeVere will know. They haven't been in the market that long, but you have your petrol actually delivered to your car on your drive. And
that's an extremely sore point at the moment for us.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry.
With your Cheshire's grin there over there, brilliant.
I have been teasing my mates about that quite a bit. And then there's just so many things that are just so easy to do. And as DeVere says, delivery. People kind of are so used to getting delivery for their shopping, home shopping. I think the difference, and the UK we've got home delivery as well, but there's a big difference here, and that is that in the UK I remember trying to get a slot with a couple of the different retailers. Admittedly, it was COVID, but still, you've got to put your slot days ahead. But in the UAE, you'd be mad. You'd be getting delivery within an hour, if that. So it is an incredible country from that perspective. So to answer your question, obviously I've got a 5-year-old brand, which we're poised to really go ballistic at the moment, which is a really exciting position to be in. But of course, like every CEO or founder at the moment, doesn't matter what product you've got, you're trying to work out how the hell you go direct to consumer globally, and that's what I've been messing with for the last probably 2 years, trying to work it out. So I will be calling DeVere after this to have a chat about that, because there's not a huge number of players out there that can kind of solve the problem globally at a sensible price.
Absolutely. Well, look, Yasser is here. Thanks for that, Stephen. I'm going to invite him onto stage. He'll click the button and he should be joining us shortly. There he is, Yasser.
Gentlemen, how are you?
We are good. We can hear you. Sorry for the trouble with my the incorrect link that I sent over, so I take full responsibility for that. Yasser, we were just speaking to the guys around the market conditions in the UAE, and I know Brands for Less is on just a huge increase in operations at the moment. I know that you have stores planned to open imminently and across the whole of 2022. So from obviously a success story, can you tell us what your general kind of feeling is around consumers and the market trends at the moment in the UAE?
Look for the, and I only know the value market, to be very frank with you. But we see a lot, there's a lot of growth for our concept and concepts similar to us. But I don't. I think I'm very positive for our business line, but I don't know about retail as a whole, how it's going to be able to hold up. I'm going to talk about UAE only because this is where's my expertise. We see, look, the UAE was very good in tackling the whole COVID situation. So we really didn't pass through the turbulences of other places on the globe. So we only closed for 1 month, actually, our business. And year to year, our sales actually, year to year, it went up single digits. So we didn't feel that COVID was an imminent disaster. I don't know if the gentlemen agree with me. So we were actually able to rebound very quickly. And we were able to also take advantage of the bad situation in retail in Europe and the US, so to buy actually lots of overstock. So there's a huge excess of overstock, and we are able to get our hands on it at very competitive prices. So that helped us also fuel this growth that we're doing. The consumer wants value now. This is what we feel. But the consumer also wants quality. It's no longer just buying for the sake. They want to actually have a deal. And we see these trends really, especially with the new all of the new generation is actually when we're saying the teenagers and from 16 to 22, they're also starting to come into our shops. Before they did not used to come that much. Now I think even for the new generation, it's becoming more hip to go and get a good deal. And they consider, because we buy overstock, so lots of this new generation, they consider it as if it's also eco-friendly to buy from a concept like Brands for, by which they are actually helping in using products that are were not being able to be sold in the mainstream. So I think this is helping our concept really go forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a common misconception perception even that UAE is all luxury. It's the LVMHs, it's the Keirings, and I think that there will be some British brands or some brands globally that will be maybe put off by that kind of stigma, but it's not the case. Brands for Less, as you said, is not a luxury brand, and we've seen more, Gen Z, millennials, etc., that are more conscious around price, even in the Middle East. So that absolutely backs it up. DeVere, have you, from a consumer point of view, have you seen any shift, like Yasser was saying, in terms of categories? Two-part question. So how they shop. We mentioned, Christina mentioned earlier from Eco Rascals around social, how important that is, whether that's as important in the Middle East or just having an e-commerce platform. And then the second part of that is, category shifts. Have you seen any spikes in accessories, men's grooming, more F&B, etc.?
I think, some of the key stats in the e-commerce market here in the UAE is that, look, e-commerce is still in its infancy. If you look at it as a share of total retail, we're still single figure. There's some wild numbers that run around, but they're all still single digit share of total retail. So in around the 5 to 8% of the market. I think what is unique about the UAE is that the UAE consumer spends a lot more than the Saudis. So, in every given year, UAE consumers are spending 6 times that. So Saudi Arabia, which is a similar size, maybe slightly ahead of the UAE in terms of the overall market. They do find new sellers not through Google ad searches, but they find it through social media. So, you know, a poll that came out recently showed that 70% of Facebook users find sellers via Facebook. 60% or just short of 60% come from IG. And so it just shows you the power of social media in the UAE. Consumers are switching, and I think this has all come from COVID as well, that consumers are using the likes of WhatsApp or Messenger who have chat and shop, if you want to call it that way, something that we had launched in a retailer before I returned to the UAE. Use messaging applications to have that kind of in-store experience online, because you just get that, you know, on a .com site. And you know, from a point of view of the average spend of UAE consumer, it is the highest of all the GCC markets. The average spend of a UAE customer is around $120. You know, which is massively ahead of the likes of Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Kuwait, Qatar, etc., etc. And one of the big reasons for that is it's not because everybody buys luxury items. It's because in the UAE, it's got the highest use of digital payments rather than cash on delivery. If you look outside of the UAE market, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Kuwait, Qatar, etc., they're all heavily dependent on cash on delivery, and that's partially cultural because they want to actually hold a product in their hands before they pay for it, and partially security. A little bit like back in my early days of running online for Dixon's Group, where we had an issue in terms of trying to convince somebody to put in their payment details, but that's been very well addressed here. You know, we've launched pay by installments, a little bit like what we've got with Klarna in the UK. Over here that have produced a great application that is well integrated into a number of online stores over here that allows consumers to pay over 3-4 installments for the product, which is taken off, of course, in the UK. So, you know, they're the kind of some of the, you know, the trends that we're seeing in the e-commerce market here.
Thank you. Yasser, you mentioned that you're now appealing to the younger demographic of consumers in the Middle East. Just a quick question around that. Is there a reason why you've seen this uptake from the younger consumer? Is it because of the lockdown and everyone's forced onto mobile, which is more user friendly for Gen Z and millennials, or is there something else behind that?
Look, I think it's the whole idea. The millennials want to save. I think they don't want to be. It's not everyone is going for the high brands and brand. It's not brand awareness. I think they're aware of the brand, but I don't think they care that much about the brand anymore. So maybe it's. I think that they are much more. How do you call it? They're more intelligent, I think, because they know so much about what's happening. So they know how to compare prices very quickly online. They know how to check what are the brands. If they go into my store and they check an item, they can compare it very quickly to some other platforms, and that's how I think they're getting hooked to our concept. Plus, we have really started since last year. We've started marketing a lot on Instagram, on TikTok, on all these platforms, and I think it's starting to appeal to them. Maybe that helped a lot in bringing them in, and we started catering for their needs. So we started buying more of their brands that they like, and bring it in, and it's really picking up. So I think probably it's mostly the connectivity that's helping them really change and shift towards us.
Yeah, and we've seen across, globally, speaking to global retailers, that certainly through the pandemic, consumers are more willing to change brand now. So loyalty isn't as much as an issue as you said. So whether they're price sensitive, whether their websites are user friendly, consumers are more willing to look outside of their traditional kind of bag, if you like, shopping cart, and look elsewhere. So that definitely matches up with that. Stephen, there are many kind of groups within the Middle East that started, a few years back, diversifying their portfolio. You might have had the watch guys that have gone into accessories. You might have had the shoe guys that have gone into F&B. Of course, diversifying the portfolio creates less risk. Certainly 2 years ago, 3 years ago, men's grooming was high on the priority list for some of the Middle East groups out in the UAE for sure. Have you capitalized on that yet, or is it still very much the start of the journey for you in terms of capitalizing on that trend?
Well, I wouldn't say it's the start. Well, it feels like we haven't been trading for that long. I mean, 5 years seems to have flown by. I think it still feels like the start of a journey in some ways. We're already stocked in retailers like Faces, Bloomingdale's, Spinneys. We're quite a premium brand, really. Sort of £15 moisturiser and upwards. We've still got a lot to do, I think. Living here is not great for my distributor because I'm now on their case big time. So I'm asking, why are we not in this store and that store? So I think, the thing is making sure we can get as much market penetration, but in the right retailers for us. It's still the beginning. And online, we've just taken on, bearing in mind we've only got sort of 8 or 9 employees total, all work from remotely. So we've got 2 marketing people, but again, the whole digital Instagram, Facebook, we're only just getting our heads around that now. And my team's, really doing a great job at it, to be fair. But there's just so much to do. It's quite frightening. Frightening. I could do with another 100 people, to be honest, if I could afford it.
Absolutely. So you stock hundreds and hundreds of brands from all over the globe, and we know that Dubai has the #1 international brand penetration around the world, even more so than London or New York. Stocking those 100 brands, are you? Because a lot of the UK companies will have asked questions of the IT and of us, and they'll ask of DeVere and others as well, will my product resonate with consumers in the Middle East? If it's a homeware brand, or whether it's like Eco Rascals, environmental friendly children's wear, bags, accessories, etc. Are you looking to expand your product offering based on kind of listening to the consumers as well?
Look, we started to, actually we do that all the time. We always try and test new ranges and new lines. So first of all, the awareness here, because it's such a diverse society, everything you buy, eventually you will find a customer for it. So in our shops, because our customers are from all walks of life. So if you get the European comes and buys, the Asian, they come by, the Middle Eastern Arabs, the GCC nationals, everybody comes and buys. So everything we get, usually, there is somebody it will appeal to somebody's taste. And this is the nice thing about our concept, because we buy such a huge mixture of goods from the US, from Europe, from the UK. We buy from Hong Kong. We buy from Eastern Europe. So all of these goods, when we bring them in, we find that each type of product covers a certain nationality or a certain social category. And this really helps us to be more adventurous in getting into new products and new lines. So we started a new concept. We started Brands for Less, which is mainly clothing and shoes. Then we started expanding into new ranges. We started buying more toys and bringing in toys into our stores. And then we had so many suppliers of toys that we opened a Toys for Less concept. That we opened independently of Brands for Less. When that succeeded, we started replicating it. Then after that, we started getting into the home goods. And once that succeeded, we shifted and we started covering also, we opened a shop called Homes for Less. And it's only home goods inside. And we're opening also independently. Now we're going more into cosmetics and consumer goods. So we're trying to buy a little bit higher end cosmetics, by which we don't, or consumer goods, by which we don't compete directly with Carrefour and the supermarket chains. And at the same time, we can show a value. So we buy, let's say we buy Tom Ford cosmetics and we sell them at a discount of 60%. So it has to be, we cannot buy the normal, we cannot compete directly with a Carrefour or a supermarket with the low price items. So we try to get the higher end, but at deep discounts. And this is how we show the value. And now we're going into this range now. And we're constantly moving from range to range and growing it, perfecting it, and then trying to integrate it into our group of concepts.
Well, it definitely shows that there are opportunities for British brands, right? Whether it's direct D2C, e-commerce platforms, whether it's with partners, Brands for Less, or alternatives out there. I'd like to. There are some questions coming in already, but I'd like to kind of wrap up the chat and the questions that I ask with the kind of the how. So Stephen, I know obviously we spoke a week or so ago now, and whilst there is a lot of information out there, you also found that there were some challenges, whether it be registration or banking or whatever it may be. So I don't want to promote that everything's always easy and nice, but some of the British brands will want to know kind of a few of the obstacles that you came across when setting up shop in the UAE.
As one of your previous speakers mentioned, I think obviously it depends on your sort of business model and your products and how to do things out here. I've got two things happening, which is slightly strange. One is I've got a distributor here who's one of the biggest and very professional operator, because that's historic. I then chose to move out to Dubai, and I am focusing on developing our whole Middle East. So we're not doing anything really in Saudi at the moment, etc. So I've set up a Hawkins and Brimble company in free trade zone. That has taken probably that and other aspects have taken literally 2 or 3 months, and it has been quite complicated, to be honest. I probably should have, if I'd met DeVere before, it might have been easier, of course. But it's. I spoke to DIT, who put me in touch with DIT in Dubai, and they were really helpful. Gave me loads of contact details of all, but because DIT has to be impartial, they give you kind of all of the free trade zone companies. They give you all of the lawyers, etc. So then you've got to go about trying to choose one, and it's quite difficult to know what the right thing to do. I think now I've done it, and I should be getting my Emirates ID card this week, I'm hoping, and fingers crossed, because again that is challenging. Without an Emirates ID card over here, you can do very little. It's quite an interesting concept. But now I've done it, I think I could probably give quite a good advice to others that might want to set up a company here. And I tell you that UAE, as I said before, I just think UAE is an amazing country. I think, the fact that there are free trade zone hubs, and you can set up e-com and digital, and everything's here. It's an incredible country, really.
Amazing. DeVere, I'm going to, there's a question that's popped in, but it's also part of my question to you. I think there is still, even speaking to retail brands across the world, people still think that the route to market to Dubai is physical, and it's giving away 51% of your business to a franchise partner in the Middle East, which is not the case anymore. So as part of the last question, if you could kind of explain to us how Dubai CommerCity is positioned to help British brands, especially as that's what we're talking about today, enter the market. And as part of that question, somebody's asked if you provide last mile delivery across the whole region within that answer, if that's okay. Yeah, look, you're right in saying traditionally the route to market into the Gulf region has been through a partner. So you can, and that still exists today. Sure. So on the mainland you can go with a partner. They own 51% of your business, so you're obviously not even the lead shareholder. The issue with that is that the partner has got other brands to be mindful of, so you're playing a match of how can you be the priority. Or you can set up your business now on the mainland without a partner, because there was a new directive announced earlier this year by the UAE government that allows 100% foreign ownership. However, there are specific sectors such as agricultural and manufacturing. It does exclude general trading. However, having said that, Apple were able to move into the UAE market without a partner, but you have to be a brand like Apple to be there. Or then the other option is through a free zone. For those that don't know what a free zone is a landmass in the country that essentially is a designated area that is free of taxes. So with a free zone, it means that whenever you're importing a product into the GCC, into the UAE market, and it's a designated or a bonded free zone, the brand doesn't have to pay duty and VAT upfront. So if they're importing $10 million worth of product, from a cash flow point of view, they're not having to outlay a further $1 million to bring that product in. So, the advantages of free zone, it gives you 100% foreign ownership. You can repatriate all your profits, your customs and duty, VAT, you're not having to pay up front. And it's a very, you can set up your business a lot easier than trying to do it yourself. This is where Dubai CommerCity is, like I said, it's a free zone dedicated to e-commerce. Free zones are typically landlord-tenant relationships. We build, we lease, and we give you visas and licenses to run your business. The difference with Dubai CommerCity, because we're dedicated with e-commerce, is we actually enable. We don't just facilitate, we enable. So we've got all those services that I was talking about earlier on in terms of customs, e-commerce consulting, business setup, through to we'll build an online store for you. We'll in fact even run an online store for you. And I know Stephen's talked about, well, it'd be great to have a bigger team. Simply turn your business, come and talk to us at Dubai CommerCity. We've got partnerships that we announced at Seamless last week with the likes of Alibaba, Mantiki, Network International, GBM, Concentrix, etc., This enables the core e-commerce enablement within Dubai CommerCity. So we are a free zone, like I like to term it, we're a free zone on steroids. We provide everything a free zone does, but also everything else that you really need to run an online business. And then of course we do all the acquisition marketing, we can do even CRM marketing for an online business. And then we provide contact center, content translation, content photography, content generation, payment gateways, etc. So simply an A to Z of everything that you require an e-commerce business to have under one roof here at Dubai CommerCity. Amazing. Gentlemen, it's time for us to wrap up there. I know that all of you will be coming to the Retail Summit in March. Anybody who tuned in and watching, please, feel free to contact DeVere, Yasser, Stephen, and myself, or Jose, or Christina, the IT team. On LinkedIn, we're always happy to make new contacts and to help wherever we can. So with that then, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.